want to give pretty much a narration of the worlds that we're going to be viewing, of the scenes that we're going to be viewing. Currently, the scene that we are in is the very first scene, which shows our protagonists making their way to the wall, their way to the north, which has a great army. And they generally do not deal with their neighbors to the south or their neighbors to the east. Generally, the neighbors that work together are the south and the east, mostly because of their similarities in both terrain and culture. If we go to the wall here, we're able to see pretty much, let me go back here, we're able to pretty much see the army of the north, as well as the entrance to the fortress, and as well as the outposts that they have, which is kind of ominous, and it kind of gives the idea that they don't want their neighbors here to the south or to the east to be dealing with them. If we want to go to where the protagonist is from, the land that the protagonist is from, we can go over here, back to the north, and get an idea of where they're from. Oops, we teleported inside of the car, but that's okay. To the north here, or to the south rather, we do have the protagonist's home, which is sort of more like a farmland. They're cultivators here, they're farmers here. They have different terrain and different terrain and a different life than their counterparts in the north. Here we will also we can teleport over to it will let me. It's a little difficult on the MacBook. See if they'll let me. There we go. If we teleport over here to the woods here, we give sort of an idea of what the woods are like. So the woods here in this terrain it's mostly animals living here, not really any people living here like the people to the north and those to the south. Here it's mostly animals. You see we have deer here. There's also the fair share of just greenery and foliage here. But let's head back to the main scene, which is the scene where our protagonist is headed to the wall. Is sort of obviously, you can see that the protagonist is also not from the north because of their attire. You can tell they're not from the north also because of the steed. The words to the north still have these soldiers, the bear. They have control over these grand animals like polar bears and wolves, which is different than that of those to the south. Than the woman to the south, and then the animals that we would see in the woods and the animals that we would see on the farm. Like in the farm, for example, we see the protagonist is she has a stable of horses, as well as just it really doesn't work well on the MacBook Pro, but or at all really. And here we have the sort of like an aerial view. So over here to the south, we have the protagonist's home, which is more of a countryside, as marked by the stable of horses, as marked by the cow here by the water, and as far as by the house. Over here in the woods, it's more also as a campsite, not really known who lives there. It might be the woman who lives there, but it's really not known other than the animals that lived here. The protagonist here, the hero here, is trying to break down the boundaries between the north and the south and the east. Essentially, she is one person who has sort of been tasked with trying to move or trying to break down this wall, trying to break down the barriers between them. And these barriers are what keeps them apart, but as the protagonist would probably say, is it's not just the barriers that keep them apart, but it's also something that could keep them together. Their differences can keep them together. It can make them navigate the world in a different way that they hadn't seen before. They can learn from each other in the North. So these three different scenes here are meant to show three completely different climates of three completely different types of people, three completely different types of environments, and how people sort of navigate this world around them in the world that they live in. Yeah.